So welcome everybody to Kartmania here at Silverstone. It's the 10th anniversary of the event, and we here at Downforce UK have got some breaking news for you. Of course, I'm wearing the logo of the Bambino Kart Club, and with me, Darren Beavers, Championship Co-ordinator. Darren, thank you very much for getting us on board for 2018. Looking forward to working with you. Great season in prospect with this calendar, haven't we?
Yeah, their calendar this year, we took a lot of time over it. We actually started preparing it back in July. Really took our time, put a couple of new tracks on there. Obviously, we're going over to Ireland, to Nuts Corner. That's a first for us, but we feel like when you're running a national championship and you're visiting all the countries, a lot of people like to call it a British championship, and I feel like having all the parts of Britain on there is very important. So yeah, the calendar this year, a couple more rounds this year. We're actually going 10 rounds over 9 weekends, and the calendar, I personally feel like we've done a really good job. I had a lot of positive feedback over it. So.
Now, we've had some really good racers in your championship this year. Let's not forget BKC overall champ Joseph Katsatonis, who won the 2017 London Cup.
Yeah.
You've also got Riley Cranham, who took the GP plate earlier on this year.
Yeah.
Some two young chargers we really need to pay attention to in the years to come. Who do you think might be your ones to watch maybe for 2018? I know we haven't had the test day out of the way yet, because that's on February 12th at Wilton.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so obviously Joseph Katsatonis, brilliant driver. Unfortunately, Joseph decided to move up to cadets a year early, so we're not going to get to see Joseph again in the Bambino class. However, we will see him in the new BKC Miami cadet class. So looking forward to seeing how Joseph gets on there in the cadet kart. I think ones to watch in BKC Bambino Miami. You mentioned GP plate Riley Cranham. I think Riley can be very strong next year. He's got a good mechanic. He has his own mechanic, Chris, and Chris does a very good job. They put in a lot of hard work, so I think Riley's definitely one to watch. This year's number 2, Mason Rudman.
Yes.
I think Mason Rudman, you might have seen him down at the London Cup. I think he's a strong contender for next year. The number 8 from this year, Lewis Stannard. Had some strong races last year. A lot of bad luck. I think Lewis, it's probably fair to say Lewis deserved a little bit better than number 8, but he did have a lot of bad luck. So certainly those 3 will be ones to watch. I think as well there's going to be a couple coming through from the mid-pack. So there's a lot of people putting a lot of time and effort in. I see a lot of people travelling up and down the country, even though we're now in the winter and it's really cold. There's a lot of really dedicated children, really dedicated parents. And a couple of the mid-pack runners from this year, I think, will be pushing into that top 5 or 6 next year. Driver 22, Jacob Ashcroft, him and his dad are putting in a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I really think Jacob will push on at least for a top 10 next year, at least for a top 10. Obviously, he's just had some backing as well from Laser Tools, so that's a good confidence boost for the child as well. So.
He was also at the London Cup as well, I remember, because that was his new set of race overalls for that particular weekend with the side ponds and the Nassau plate. But in terms of grid sizes for next year, what can we expect at the BKC?
So Miami Bambino, we've had a really good day here at the show. This was our first time exhibiting at Kartmania 17. Had a good response today. Coming into the show, we had 34 Bambinos signed up. Actually, as we speak now, Saturday evening, we're actually on 40 drivers, and we've capped it for now. We may let in a few more, but for now, we are capping it at 40. That's a full grid of 20 in an A final and a full grid of 20 in a B final, which at the moment we feel is enough. However, don't worry too much. If you want in a space after Christmas, we may be opening it up to a few more. So.
And also we've got the Interkart Championships for 2018 as well. We've got the Honda powered and the iArmy powered. Now I understand it's a pooled engine category with spec tyres where the engines are sealed. Any engine that runs and wins 3 successive weekends on the trot gets put out to pasture, and we get another engine put into the random draw that happens every weekend. That's very good for drivers because it's going to help them build their skill set as the season progresses.
Yeah, for sure. So this year, moving into the cadet classes, sort of adding the extra classes onto BKC, we felt like with adding the cadet classes on, there's a strong demand in this country for pooled engine racing. There's a lot of engines out there that are very different, so we felt like we buy 50 Honda engines, we buy 50 IAMI engines, we take them all out of the box, we check them all, they all get dynoed every single meeting, and we keep them all equal, basically. So the driving on track doesn't come down to engine in any way, shape or form. The driving on track comes down to that kid sat in the seat. I think the Honda class, we've actually had a really good response. The Honda class, we're on like 16 entries now. The IAMI class hasn't quite hit that yet, but we was late launching that. The IAMI Cadet was a bit of a last minute decision. We was only going to run with Honda, but we feel like there's a lot of people out there that want to race the two-stroke. So how the pooled engine system will work, sort of getting back to your original question, drivers will come in to our BKC awning first thing in the morning on race day. They'll pull a number out of the hat. So for example, number 12, the driver gets given engine number 12, they put it on their car, that's what they race for the weekend. Should they have any problems with that engine, we've got spares on site where the whole unit will just be exchanged for another one. Like you said, if in the unlikely event the same engine wins, we'll just pull that out. You know, all the engines will be equal, they're all checked before every event. We've had really good support from RPM, who we got the Honda engines from, and from James Mills, the IAMI UK dealer, who we get the IAMI engines from. We've got deals in place where after every round the engines are going back to them to be inspected and making sure they're all being kept even. So the racing on the track is purely going to come down to the driver, not the engine.
Well, thank you very much for your time there, Darren. Really looking forward to working with you in 2018. But of course, the big news is Bambino Kart Club comes to Downforce UK with us on the Nations Motorsport Station, where, well, with these guys, they're definitely going to bring a lot of fun to it. But also one big announcement is that I am now the official BKC Championship commentator. So February the 11th is when we kickstart the season in earnest. So I think the calendar's pretty much guaranteed, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, obviously the calendars, we call it our provisional calendar, just because in January all the contracts get signed between ourselves and the circuit. We like to call it provisional until those contracts are back and in place, but we don't foresee any changes on the calendar. The circuits have assured me they don't foresee any changes. I know all the other calendars are now out, all the big championships, Super 1, LGM, everything else, all the other calendars are out. There's no clashes, so it should stay as it is at the minute.
Thank you very much for your time, Darren. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just run you through the calendar for 2018, of course, with Darren saying that pretty much the contracts will be signed in January. The test day, February 12th, we head to Wilton Mill, which is not too far from here at Silverstone. But then March 11th is when we get the action underway for the first of 10 rounds. Hooton Park in Cheshire is on the 1st of April, and I can tell you, on the racetrack, there will be no fools there. I can guarantee you that much. We then head to Rowra in Cumbria for the May Bank Holiday weekend. It's a double header that weekend, so that's rounds 3 and 4. We then go to Lydd, down in the far southeast for round 5, a little bit later on, early part of June. Then we go to Glanny Gores on the 1st of July. Then it's Nuts Corner over to the Emerald Isle in Northern Ireland a little bit later on that month. Then we have a little bit of a summer holiday break, I think, before we head north of the border to Larkhall in Scotland. Now that is a particular track that will be very well known to the likes of Alan McNish, David Coulthard, Dario Franchitti and of course Paul de Resta. You then also got Landau, so it's a trip to North and South Wales in the same season. But then the season finale takes place on October 14th at Fulbeck in Lincolnshire. So don't forget, you can hear all the action play-by-play from me, Alex Goldschmidt, the BKC official commentator, live on Downforce UK, the Nations Motorsport Station. So that's it from us here at Silverstone. We look forward to hearing your responses to what the Bambino Kart Club gets up to in 2018.